Well, hello, everyone. I'm Greg Ferrara, President and CEO of the National Grocers Association, and it's so great to have you again with us for another edition of Beyond the Aisles, a fireside chat with me and some of NGA's members. We're thrilled this week to be speaking with Chris Greco, who is the CEO of Storewise, one of NGA's members and one of our just great partners, and we're thrilled to have you here, Chris.
Yeah, great to be with you, Greg. Thank you.
So, Chris, we like to jump in this. We keep this pretty fast, and we'll jump around and have a great conversation. Why don't you take a minute, just tell us a little bit about who you are and who Storewise is as well.
Yeah, so Christopher Greco, I'm the president and CEO of Storewise. We're actually based about 5 miles from AWG's Kansas City headquarters, and it's great to be here. And Storewise is a broad grocery intelligence platform that really addresses some of the key issues that grocers are facing today, such as pricing, automated ordering, demand generation. And we 5 years ago decided to go ahead and build a complete platform that solves most of their most pressing problems.
That's great. So, Chris, I want to pivot from Storewise as a company to Storewise as an NJ member and advocate for the independent grocers.
Yep.
You and your son, which I thought was so cool that he got to come to Washington. You guys
Yes.
were with us the first week of June here in Washington, D.C. for our Flying Fair competition. And you talk
Yep.
about timing that we can't predict, or maybe we'll take credit that if we predicted it, but we had that week the introduction of the Credit Card Competition Act, a piece of legislation championed by your home state Senator Roger Marshall of Kansas, that would bring competition to the credit card marketplace. And tell a little bit about that experience and being part of that fly-in, but also being part of, in a way, history making, where you guys got to spend some time with Senator Roger Marshall and then also be there for the press conference.
Well, it was an amazing experience, Greg, and hats off to you and the team for organizing such a great event. So yeah, so Roger Marshall, our Kansas senator, was running pretty hard and fast and having that press conference. And the exposure, I went to school in DC and I've been around senators. I was an intern at the White House, Justice Department, and the exposure you developed and organized to get us in front of key Congress people, I thought was amazing. And they heard our story, they listened, and this was my second fly-in that I did as an NGA member. Yeah, it was great to have my son. You did it in June, which is great. So he was out of school. I will say that the opportunity I see in moving the credit card swipe fee bill forward, solving for Robson Patman, really pushing that. You can definitely see the progress that NGA has made year over year.
Yeah, I think that's spot on, and that progress gets made because people like you and other members come to Washington, take 2 days out of their schedule, and say, hey, we want to make sure that these elected officials and their staff are very important in this process, understand what's going on back home. So you've said you've done this for 2 years. There are many NG members who've never done that. If you could say one thing to them about why they should come to the fly-in next year in 2024, it's May 22nd through the 23rd here in Washington. What would that be?
The independent grocer is the most important small business in America, no doubt. And I think that every single congressperson should understand what that story is, the unfair advantages that the big box stores have. And I think the fly-in is arguably the best event to communicate that message.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about those independent grocers and what's going on in the marketplace. We're obviously in we've always been in a competitive marketplace. I think independent, the grocery business in general is just one of the most fiercely competitive marketplaces out there. I think that's why we have so many fantastic entrepreneurs who are running businesses, because they're used to being scrappy and being innovative. From Storewise perspective, what are you guys seeing in the marketplace, and how are you helping to solve for some of those challenges and opportunities to give that independent grocer those tools and resources they need to be successful?
Yeah. So the number one enemy in this space, and I've been in technology for 25 years, Greg, is complexity. There's too darn much complexity in technology, in the technology that a lot of our beloved independents have adopted. And I think we know, I mean, we're at 900 stores now, on our platform. We know that giving more more options, more features, more products under a single pane of glass, which Storewise does, drive simplicity. And if we can move, technology away from being disparate and siloed, which our platform does, when you have simplicity, then you have pricing coordinators, category managers, loss prevention managers, all wanting to use your software. And when they're using it, it's a better process than using Excel or, in a lot of cases, just sole tuition. That'll drive better results. So we see an opportunity to really reduce complexity for these independents.
So let's talk about what's going on in the marketplace. We're obviously, the big news, of course, for the last 6 months or so has been the Kroger-Albertsons potential merger.
Yep.
There's a lot obviously going on in Washington, the marketplace around that. So the marketplace we are seeing getting more concentrated. We are seeing these dominant power buyers having even more power concentration, more influence. You guys just announced a new product, I think, recently, an add-on called they're dealing with price checks. So giving independent grocers the ability to have visibility of what's going on in that marketplace. Talk a little bit about that and talk about how independents should be leveraging those tools to stay ahead of the competition in the marketplace.
Yeah. So actually, the NGA fly-in, my first one, actually gave us the idea of Price Find. And Price Find is a store next door price comparison tool where an independent grocer can compare their pricing to the Walmart, Kroger, Dollar, Hy-Vee next door. And the CPGs and all the big box stores have this intelligence. So do the grocers. So as we move towards Robinson Patman hopefully getting enforced, that's policy. We think there's technology that can solve these problems as well. And look, Walmart is now a $620 billion organization, and 58% of their revenues are coming from grocery. Right? Amazon is just under 600 billion. That they're not going away. So I think that it's going to get more. You have labor issues. Your cost of capital is more expensive. So these tools that companies like mine are launching can really be a significant help to the independent grocer.
Yeah, and it brings transparency, right? I think that's something that when we've talked about this antitrust effort that we're doing, one of the things that we believe is important to enforce the Robinson-Patman Act is because there should be transparency in the marketplace.
100%.
That's the law. Allow competitors the ability to see what's out there, and then they can decide whether they're in a place to participate or not participate.
Exactly.
We need to have that transparency, and I think you're right. Making sure independent grocers have these tools, which the larger companies all have, is really important for them to stay ahead of the competition because they're so close to their communities.
Exactly.
Hey, Chris, speaking of communities, you've been a great supporter and participant in the NGA show for a number of years. Talk a little bit about kind of for Storewise what the NGA show means to you guys and to the industry.
It's arguably the most important show, for us. I mean, it's well participated, it's well organized. I think there's a lot of participation. I think there's a significant amount of time that's allotted for one-to-one discussions at the booths. I think the expert lecture series that you do, I think is phenomenal as well. I know I learn from them. So I love the NGA show, and we're continuing. I think we're getting a bigger booth this year. I'm my marketing director, so that's, I guess, one indicator that how successful that show is for us.
That's great. Well, we appreciate it. I think I tell people I've been with NGA a long time and was a retailer obviously before this, and went to the NGA show as a retailer. I tell people who've never been, you've got to just go experience it. I can explain it to you, but I think once you experience it, there's a special sauce there. There is a camaraderie and just energy that I think is fantastic for this industry. And so March 10th through the 12th, back in Las Vegas at the Caesars Forum Convention Center. If you go to thengashow.com, registration actually just opened this week. I think today as we're talking. So it's great for folks to get ahead of that. And be sure to visit with Chris and his team on the show floor.
And Greg, maybe we can get the NGA show back in your hometown in New Orleans. Maybe that can happen.
Yeah. I mean, hey, anything's possible. It's a great city. The meals would certainly would be very popular with folks down
100%.
Chris, I want to close out with, you're talking to independent retailers all the time. You're in the field. You're as close to their stores as anyone. What are you hearing about kind of their outlook for the remainder of the year and going into 2024 as well? What's going to be, where do they see the current challenges, but maybe also the opportunities?
Yeah, so I'll preface this by saying the independent grocer is incredibly resilient, no matter if it's a single store operator all the way to the 100-store operator. With that said, some of the challenges they're hearing is that cost of capital is much more expensive. Inflation isn't subsiding anytime soon. Labor is always tight, and the discussions that we have outside of technology are, hey, Chris, you built to seem to be a good culture Storewise. What ideas that we can take from a tech company and apply it to an independent grocer? And I think some of the discussions we have around how we can solve problems outside of technology, just based on being in business and building successful companies together, I think is helpful. But obviously, cost of capital, obviously inflation, and labor are the three recurring themes that I hear. And their approach is, look, we've been through a lot. We'll get past it.
Yeah, absolutely. Be innovative, be hungry, and I think looking outside the box, particularly right now, as technology is evolving at the fastest clip ever, really. Embracing that, I think, is incredibly important.
But the magic, Greg, in technology is simplicity, and I think that's the opportunity that we see with the independents, and it's what they seem to be gravitating towards.
Yeah, I think that's great. That's a great place to bring this conversation to the Chris. Thank you for your partnership with NGA, and again, thank you for being part of the fly. And I'm just going to reinforce again for folks that haven't been, because I talk to folks often, and they say, I'm not sure it was for me. I'm not sure that they're nervous sometimes about coming to Washington. And I think you can attest to, you already did, what a great experience to come. Elected officials and their staff, they want to hear from real people. They hear from so many talking faces all the time. When real people travel from back home, make that effort to leave their businesses and come, my gosh, it makes an amazing difference. So,
and most of the representatives do show up, Greg. That's a big thing. It's not just I would probably say 70-80% of the time you're sitting with the senator or the representative, not their legislative aide or their chief of staff. So I think that's a credit to NGA.
Yeah, absolutely. We appreciate that. Chris, we look forward to seeing you real soon. Again, just some dates for folks to remember. October, we have our Executive Conference and Public Policy Summit here in Washington, D.C., October 22nd through the 25th. The NGA show, March 10th through the 12th in Las Vegas, Caesars Forum Convention Center. And then finally, May 22nd through the 23rd here in Washington, D.C., Flying for Fair competition. Three great opportunities to coming up to bring this industry together. Chris, thank you for everything. We appreciate you taking time, and thank you to all of our members for what you're doing every day. We appreciate it.
Indeed. Thanks, Greg. Enjoyed it.